Husband's younger sister sat on his lap at our dinner. I left for the night and now he's angry with me, staying at his mom's place. I'm still really upset by everything and I'm sorry for going on and on. My husband Jake and I have been married for 3 years. Right from the start, he was really close with his best friend's sister, Cindy, who's 18 years old. Jake used to talk about her a lot, saying how he's seen her grow up over the years. Cindy's always been bubbly and seems to really like Jake. Even when we were dating, she'd often want to come along on our dates. I didn't mind though because I enjoyed her company too. She felt like a little sister to me. When we announced our engagement, she jokingly told Jake not to forget about her now that he's married and to still hang out with her. We even made her one of my bridesmaids. After we moved to a different state, we lost touch with Cindy. Now Jake's best friend is visiting us and Cindy came along. The first thing she said when she saw us was how good-looking Jake had become and that she's glad he doesn't look like those boring married men. Throughout their stay, Cindy ignored me and got way too close to Jake. I told Jake that Cindy's behavior seemed inappropriate and asked him to talk to her about toning it down. But Jake said Cindy's just a bit childish and acts like that with everyone. On their last day, we decided to host a dinner party. During the party, Cindy grabbed Jake's hand and whisked him away to play games, saying she needed to steal him for a while. I let it slide since it was their last day, but Cindy kept getting too close to Jake throughout dinner, pulling him away whenever I was nearby and giggling at me. When everyone sat down to eat, Cindy claimed there was no seat and sat on my husband's lap, making everyone surprised. Jake laughed it off, telling Cindy to stop acting like a kid. Cindy laughed too, saying it was just a joke and moved to another seat, still giggling at me. I was furious at the disrespect and Jake's nonchalant attitude but didn't want to cause a scene. So I excused myself, left in my car, and went to a friend's house. About an hour later, Jake called asking where I was. I told him I was at my friend's place and would return after Cindy left. Looking back, I know leaving like that was wrong, but I was just so angry at the time. If I had stayed any longer, I might have ended up fighting or crying. When I returned the next day, Cindy and her family had already left. Jake was really angry, saying I overreacted. I couldn't hold back the tears as I explained how everything made me feel. He defended Cindy, saying she was like a sister to him. I acknowledged his intentions but expressed how hurt I was by Cindy's disrespect and his lack of intervention. He brushed off my concerns, calling me ridiculous and unable to take a joke, referring to the incident when Cindy sat on his lap. Regardless, I told him I didn't want Cindy back in our house. Then Cindy sent me a message apologizing for making me feel insecure, but also criticizing me for leaving, calling it childish and mood-spoiling. I didn't reply. Instead, I told Jake he needed to keep his distance from Cindy. He asked if I was giving him an ultimatum, and I questioned if he would disregard my feelings for Cindy. This angered him and he accused me of having disgusting thoughts and giving ultimatums. He packed a bag and left for his mother's place. Despite my numerous apologies, he's ignoring my texts and calls. Later, Cindy's brother contacted me, hurling insults and suggesting Jake should leave me, claiming I deserved to be alone for thinking badly about his sister. I couldn't stop crying afterward. I feel lost, wondering if there's any way to fix this. Did I deserve this treatment? I'm not sure anymore. For those asking about our ages, we're both 25 years old, just months apart. At the dinner party, it was me, Cindy, her brother, his girlfriend, and their cousin with his boyfriend. It wasn't a big gathering. When Cindy sat on my husband's lap, everyone went silent. Even though my husband laughed it off, no one said anything. I think if they had seen I wasn't okay, things would have been different. I don't know what happened after I left. Maybe they talked to Cindy, maybe not. I was overwhelmed and embarrassed, so I didn't want to discuss it further. However, I've decided to reach out to others who were there and ask for their perspective. Update: thank you all for responding and offering advice. I appreciate the support. Now I realize my feelings are valid and Cindy crossed boundaries. During the dinner, Cindy, her brother Sean, his girlfriend, and their cousin Derek, who is also a good friend of my husband, with his boyfriend, were present. I called Derek to ask about the situation and what occurred after I left. He was sympathetic and explained that initially they expected me to return after a while. However, when I didn't, things became awkward. Sean's girlfriend told Cindy that her actions were disrespectful. Derek and his boyfriend echoed the same sentiment. Cindy began crying, saying they didn't need to corner her and attack her over a harmless joke. She didn't anticipate it would escalate like this. Then she left the room in tears. Jake was at a loss for words and everyone left early the next day. Derek also mentioned that Cindy has always struggled with boundaries. When he introduced his boyfriend to everyone, Cindy would get too close and joke about checking if he was really gay. They found it uncomfortable, so Derek confronted her. Cindy dismissed their concerns, saying they couldn't take a joke, and eventually stopped. It's all so strange. Sean's girlfriend also messaged me, apologizing for what happened. I informed her about Sean's inappropriate text and asked her to talk to him. She was apologetic and promised to address it. Then my mother-in-law called, concerned about the argument between Jake and me. I hesitated but eventually told her everything. She was furious with Jake and insisted that they both come over so we could talk. Now I'm just waiting nervously for them to arrive. I'm not sure if my actions were right or wrong, but we'll find out. Regarding rumors about my husband being a pedophile or having an affair, I know these are false. I never doubted his intentions. What hurt me was Cindy's disrespect. Update: my mother-in-law came over with Jake and we had a discussion. There were many things said, but to summarize, Jake apologized to me first and explained his perspective. He said he was upset because I left without a word, leaving him to deal with the awkward situation alone. Instead of communicating, I just left him in that situation. He hadn't seen his friends in a long time and just wanted the dinner to be peaceful. Besides, Cindy was leaving soon and we probably wouldn't see her again. He admitted that Cindy was indeed crossing boundaries, but he didn't know how to address it. After all, he had known her since she was young, and she's like a little sister to him. Plus, he believed she acted that way with everyone. He hoped to avoid drama during their stay, so he chose to ignore it. However, he realized he was wrong for not speaking up. He was already upset because I left without explaining, and he felt overwhelmed. He thought I was accusing him of doing nothing when he politely pushed Cindy away when she tried to sit on him. He felt attacked and hurt when I gave him an ultimatum, as if I doubted his sincerity. It wasn't about Cindy, it was about how easily I questioned his character. He decided to greatly reduce contact with her after that dinner. He apologized for not addressing Cindy's disrespect towards me and for leaving like that. After he expressed his feelings, my mother-in-law explained the situation to him from her perspective. She scolded him severely. In short, she emphasized that as a husband it was his responsibility to prioritize making me feel valued, and he let me down by forcing me to ask for boundaries. She stressed that it should have been his instinct to establish those boundaries without my prompting. She also questioned him about how he would have felt if the situation were reversed, and he couldn't provide a satisfactory answer. She described my actions as a release of pent-up emotions, and emphasized that as a husband his duty was to pursue me and prevent me from leaving in the first place. She addressed numerous issues with him, and Jake seemed genuinely remorseful for his actions. She concluded by warning him that if he repeated such behavior, she wouldn't tolerate it. Later, she took me for a walk alone and explained some things to me. She apologized for everything and revealed that Jake was distraught even at their house. Although she didn't excuse her son's behavior, she hoped I would forgive him. She assured me that my home was my sanctuary and I should never feel compelled to leave. She encouraged me to voice any discomfort and promised to intervene if Jake acted foolishly again. She expressed hope that we would resolve our issues as she had witnessed our love for each other. She suggested counseling to deepen our understanding and even brought me ice cream as a gesture of goodwill. I know it might seem childish, but my mother-in-law said sweet gestures can soothe upset feelings, and she was right. Later that night, it was awkward when Jake came to our room. We didn't know what to say at first, but eventually we talked and apologized to each other. However, I expressed my anger at him for confiding in Sean and was deeply hurt by the text Sean sent me. Jake seemed confused and denied telling Sean about our fight. When I showed him the texts, he was shocked. It turned out that Sean had informed Cindy about the situation and exaggerated my behavior. Cindy painted me as passive-aggressive, questioning her character and being insecure and jealous, even when she was a child. This angered Jake, and he reacted impulsively by sending those texts. We were both upset by the false accusations. Jake tried to explain to Sean, but ultimately he decided to cut off contact with Cindy and significantly reduce it with Sean. Jake apologized once again, and we comforted each other, eventually falling asleep. Now Cindy is out of our lives for good, and we've agreed to attend counseling for better communication in the future. Despite everything, we're not getting divorced. I decided not to show Jake this post as he's already feeling down. I apologize for rambling and thank you all for your support. Edit. After considering the advice, we've also decided to end our friendship with Sean. Jake sent him a message explaining the decision and blocked him as well. While I've somewhat forgiven Jake, I've made it clear that he needs to rebuild my trust. He agreed and will be attending couples counseling too. Thank you all for your guidance, it's been comforting. Now on to the next story, story 2. I discovered my girlfriend's pregnancy was the result of an affair at Bible camp. When she tried to blame me, I exposed the truth. My girlfriend, 25, and I, 27, have been dating for about 2 years. The first few months of our relationship were blissful, and for a while I thought she was the one for me. We lived together in the same 2-bedroom apartment, relying on each other's monthly salaries. I work as a junior sales representative while she works as a receptionist at a 3-star hotel a few blocks away. Financially, we were doing okay and we were ready to take our relationship to the next level. One day she took me to her parents' house and we stayed there for 2 weeks. They were very kind to me and I enjoyed the mini vacation, except for the no sex under their roof rule. However, one thing that caught my attention and seemed odd was how she stayed in touch with family friends and their children whom she had grown up with. In this group of friends, there was one guy who I perceived as a threat to our relationship, David. He was 6'2", dark and tall, with a habit of whispering in my girlfriend's ear and making her laugh. On several occasions, my girlfriend's mother jokingly referred to him as my competition, a joke that didn't sit well with me. This situation bothered me, so I confronted my girlfriend about it. She brushed me off, saying I worried too much and that she only had eyes for me. Despite my doubts, she managed to reassure me in the end. One day she and her entire family went on a Bible camp retreat for a week in the woods. I didn't go along because I wasn't particularly interested in Christianity and I wasn't invited. My girlfriend mentioned that some family friends, including David's parents, would be attending. I'd asked if David would be there and she assured me he wouldn't, so I stopped worrying. 2 days into the retreat, calls to her number stopped going through. I tried repeatedly, but her phone was switched off, so I waited for her to return. When she came back, I asked her about her phone being off all the time, and she brushed it off, saying we were in the woods, so what did I expect? I also inquired if David had joined them, and she assured me he hadn't. So for a while, I thought everything was fine. Fast forward about 2 months after her trip, I attended a birthday party at the club with some friends. There, I noticed a familiar face staring at me. I'd approached her, and she introduced herself as Angela, David's girlfriend. She mentioned we had met before at my girlfriend's dad's house. We talked, and Angela revealed she felt insecure about my girlfriend's strange relationship with David, too. She recounted how David had left her alone for a week during a Bible camp, which she was certain my girlfriend also attended. Although my girlfriend had previously told me David wasn't there, I didn't contradict Angela. I was too confused and betrayed to respond. When I got home, I resisted jumping to conclusions. Instead, I felt the need for evidence to confirm my suspicions. I decided to check my girlfriend's phone while she was in the shower, as it was the only place I could find what I was looking for. As soon as I unlocked it, her messaging app opened, with David's name at the top of the list. I noticed they were arguing about something, prompting me to dig deeper. And there it was, the greatest betrayal I had ever experienced. She confessed to David that she was pregnant with his baby, but he denied it, claiming he wasn't the only one she had been with. She argued that the timing wasn't right for the baby to be mine, citing an ultrasound and the lack of intimacy during and after the week of camp. They eventually agreed to pin the pregnancy on me, as it was convenient for both of them. I was stunned beyond words, but I managed to screenshot the chat and send it to my phone before she finished showering. The following day, she dropped a bombshell on me. She told me she had news, unsure if it was good or bad depending on my reaction. Then she dropped the bombshell: she was pregnant. Though I wanted to ask questions, I feared arousing suspicion, so I forced a smile, embraced her, and said it was wonderful news. She left for work that day, oblivious to the turmoil in my mind. I sought advice from a lawyer friend who suggested ordering a prenatal paternity test to refute paternity before the baby's birth. My mind was in a whirlwind. I didn't know how to approach the situation. If I asked her nicely, she'd catch on and refuse. If I pressured her, she'd resist outright. In a state of confusion, I packed my bags and left the house. She bombarded my phone with calls and messages when she realized I was gone, but I remained unreachable, blocking her number. About a week later, she decided to announce her pregnancy on Facebook, accompanied by a heartfelt message about motherhood. She tagged me, and when someone asked about the father in the comments, she began dragging my name, accusing me of abandonment. Unable to tolerate the lies and manipulation any longer, I swiftly posted a screenshot from her phone where she and David admitted to pinning the pregnancy on me. The post garnered attention within minutes, sparking chaos. She pleaded with me to take it down, bombarding me with messages on Messenger. My inbox overflowed with messages from her family and concerned acquaintances. Refusing to yield, I stood my ground. David even reached out, criticizing the situation. With her parents' cooperation, I arranged for a paternity test, which confirmed I wasn't the father. My lawyer sent her a cease and desist to prevent my name from appearing on the birth certificate. Once the ordeal concluded, we parted ways, and I found solace in a serious relationship with Angela, David's ex-girlfriend. Having endured so much together, we found love in each other's embrace.